You are not the job you do. You are not the apps you scroll through or the bills you pay. You are not what others ask of you. Breathe deeply. You are nature. You are the trees, the lakes, the wind and the sun. Over the course of this film, I'm going to take you on a journey of discovery over the expansive landscape where mystery abounds. So the last couple of years have been tough for everybody, myself included. And I decided to do a little bit of a pilgrimage. So here we are at the beginning of the Peddars Way, 74-kilometre trail all the way to the coast. And I want to show you guys some of the places that you won't get to see normally. There is magic and mystery along this route, which even if you do the trail, unless you know where to look, you won't be able to find it. So my intention is to open this up to all of you guys and to share my experience as I go along. And hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I will. Wow, that's cool. Sound of the crows. It's a loud one. The air is really fresh. You can smell the growth, the leaves, that kind of oxygen in the air and the ozone smell. It's absolutely invigorating. It's so nice to be away, to be doing this. And literally been walking a couple of minutes and I can already feel the tension slowly starting to sort of fade away from the life, you know. This route actually originated during the Bronze Age. It was used by traders. Later on it was adopted by the Roman Empire, and they used to take goods from inland and ship them all the way to Holm next to sea, where at that time there was a port which they used to obviously ship back to Italy and Rome and the rest of the empire. And that is basically the root of where this comes from. And it's still obviously maintained today, but for pleasure. What's interesting along this route is there are certain kind of mysteries and things that are written down in the books. There's the Norfolk legend of Black Shuck, the dog, the demon dog. And I have actually seen some very interesting things along this trail myself, in certain parts of it. I've never actually done the whole trail, so this is an adventure for me as well, parts of it. Areas that I have visited, I've seen one or two strange things, which I will tell you about later on, but at the moment this forest is some beautiful birch forest with some other trees like oak and things mixed in. It's got a real fresh, earthy smell to it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's further along. This is Knetishall Heath. Grassland, woodland and wet hollows. In the meadows can be found sheep sorrel, tormentil, harebell, ling and heath bedstraw, while the little pools and hollows are home to sedge, watermint and yellow iris among others, quiet dwellers over thousands of years. Little river. It's obviously been a lot fuller at some point. It's washed a lot of this wood through. The water's actually surprisingly clear. You can occasionally see little guys swimming around in there. I'm not sure what they are, but it's amazing. And then you've got this beautiful big willow up here, which kind of reminds me of Lord of the Rings. Old Man Willow by the Withy Windle. where the hobbits fell asleep, you know. Yeah, nice little shady spot on a warm day. The voices of crows echo a farewell at the boundaries of the ancient forest. Tunnels of green to new places. A cathedral dream of trees, flowing and ebbing over the centuries and into the distant future. Here we leave Suffolk behind and head into Norfolk, towards the River Thet, along vibrant paths filled with the movements of tiny creatures and watchful eyes. This is the first part of the Peddars Way along the Knetishall Heath area. And yeah, it smells of blackcurrant and it's coming from these elderberries. And as you walk through these bushes, there's just little creatures and birds darting in and out. You can't really tell, but it's so dense. I mean, there's a ceiling of greenery above you as you walk through, which is encapsulating, and you kind of feel like, as I said before, you feel like you're in a jungle. So we're just now past Shadwell and past the edge of a SSSI nature reserve at Knetishall Heath. But actually this area here is absolutely teeming with life. You've got a huge amount of different species of plant, of flowers, of insect. We've got all kinds of different butterflies around us at the moment. And this may as well be a SSSI here. We're right on the edge of the River Thet, which is over there. And it is just lush with life. So here we are at the River Thet, and it's quite overgrown with weeds and plants here and reeds, but it's full of dragonflies and full of really interesting insects and damselflies. Further downstream, this river turns into a much bigger, wider river, and the tributaries add to it the weight of water, and it becomes a much bigger river where you can canoe. But this bit, it's actually much more up my street, shall we say, with all this dense growth. It'd be a great place to actually camp if you didn't have a location in mind, which currently I do have a location in mind, but it'd be a great place to be for the night. So right here, this whole tunnel is made up of these sloe bushes, and you can see them here, and they turn a dark purple in the autumn time. And this whole area is absolutely full of berries. So if you're doing this in the late autumn and you bring a bag with you, this is the place to come. And of course you can add it to your gin or your vodka or whatever it is you want to make with a lot of sugar, and you have your liqueur made. So this is a great place to come picking. Not sure how I'm going to get this back on. Just come out of the Knetishall area, and I've just come out of these woodlands here. Gonna head now to the A11. I think my backpack is heavier than I thought it was going to be. So I'm just coming up to the edge of Thetford Forest. I can just about hear the A11 in the distance. But we've had some moisture here. It's been wet. But also, everything's not as brown as it normally is for the time of year. Heather everywhere. Really nice, and blackberries. So I've just stopped in the forest here in Thetford. I'm just using this little Vanguard burner to make myself a coffee. Everything's covered in moss here, and there's cool little orange mushrooms and things all over the place. It's quiet. So here we are at Stonebridge. The main road runs along there through East Wretham, and this is an old abandoned railway line that runs all the way through here and all the way through Thetford Forest, through marshes and swamps and so on. And this delineates the edge of this area. All through there is also the battle area which is what it's called locally, which is where the army trains. It's one of the largest areas of unfenced wilderness in England, not the UK, but in England. And there's all kinds of interesting species there, like otters, stone curlews, orchids, and so on. All kinds of interesting things that are not really seen in other places. Also some abandoned villages, which are absolutely perfectly kept, but they are used by the army for training. So I had once the privilege to go on there, and it's very strange because as you go on, you have all this perfectly cut grass, the old red telephone boxes, everything's manicured, the houses, everything's great, except there's nobody there because it's just a training area. Very interesting. So we're just going to go on further and have a little look what's down in Stonebridge, and yeah, we'll see what's what. So I'm just standing outside the Dog and Partridge pub in Stonebridge, and unfortunately, like a lot of pubs, it has closed. And so you will find along the whole Peddars Way route that a lot of the places in the guidebooks are no longer there. So bringing plenty of food and water with you is a really important thing to do. And if you do manage to find small shops on the way in places like Castle Acre, then definitely, get your provisions there. So. So the twilight is coming down heavily now, and I'm all set up and lit. It's pretty nice and warm, and you can just hear the rooks and the crows settling and the birds. Every now and again a bark from the deer. So yes, I used to live around this area many years ago, and as I was saying when I started this, I saw some very interesting things. You've heard the legend of the black shuck of Norfolk, which is the black dog, which is rumoured to be like a hellhound with an eye central to its head, and it Used to haunt the ways of the pilgrims up and down these trails. Well, I've never seen a black shuck, but I have seen a black panther. Must have been 15 years ago when I used to live around here, as I say, and I was coming back late from a friend's house one night, and it must have been 2 in the morning, I guess. Now, when you're driving along in Norfolk, you very often see the orange eyes of deer grazing on the side of the road on the grass. Well, on this occasion, there was a pair of orange eyes, and as my headlights hit these eyes, you could see it was a deer, but behind it there was a pair of green eyes. So of course I did a double take. I was like, what the hell is that? So I slowed down as I came around this bend, and it was quite a big grassy verge coming up to the village of Thompson. And just as my headlights got there, I saw the eyes, and then I saw the side profile of a big black cat. And I'm saying, when I say big, I mean, you know, like a panther size. It had a big hooked tail like this, and I saw its side profile as it went through into the hedge perfectly. So I've seen these things, they're around here, and it does make camping in this area a little bit more interesting at night. I mean, to be fair, they're probably more afraid of us than them, but they're big animals, you know. A few months after I'd seen this big cat, I remember speaking to a local ex-policeman who said that actually he was friendly with a gamekeeper, and the gamekeeper had actually seen a mother and cubs at a small pond in the middle of Thetford Forest. So yeah, these things are out here, and there are some interesting things that go on. Norfolk's an interesting place in that regard. There's plenty of wildlife. But this is another area that's got a very interesting legend, where I've just walked off the main road through Wretham there, past the closed pub that I showed you earlier on. There is a phantom that occasionally appears on the road, a white ghost, I suppose you want to call it. I don't know how old it is, but it's a legend that's been around a long time, and people have seen it as they drive along. Maybe somebody was struck by a car many years ago, or what have you. I'm not sure, but that is something that's around this area as well. So there's lots of legends and myths, and some things that are real, and they're a little bit interesting. The best one for this area that I find absolutely fascinating is the crunch there. The best one for this area that I find fascinating is a friend of mine now, an acquaintance, I should say. I won't go into who they are, but they're ex-Navy. They saw a triangular craft one night. So they were coming back. And this must have been in the 90s. I think it was, was it 96 or was it early 90s? I can't remember, but it's the same time that there was a UFO apparently seen in Scotland at Calvane, I'm not sure what it's called. But it's the same time, also triangular. So she was coming back on her bike, and hovering above the houses, where her house and the neighbouring houses, was a huge triangular craft, and it was stationary. Now, this is a straight-laced person. This craft hovered there for a while and then took off at instantaneous speeds. Now, as I say, she's a straight-laced person. She didn't tell anybody except for her mother. Now, the only reason I know about it is years later, after this subject is talked about a lot more by people, it's become a little bit more acceptable to talk about. So she felt like she could talk about it. But I have no reason to doubt that she saw this in this area here. And we've got the battle area right next to us here, which is where the army trains. And her village is literally on the boundary of this huge unfenced battle area. In fact, it's the biggest unfenced area of wilderness in England, not the UK, but in England. So these things are around. All these things are seen by people. I've seen some strange stuff here, and I know that other people have seen some very odd things, and I think that triangular craft is the oddest thing, because many people around the country and around the world have seen those things. So there's something to it, and I have, as I say, no reason to doubt her at all. So hopefully tonight I'll get some good sleep. But those are the sort of things that sometimes run through your head, you know. There's a reality to the world, and we don't always see it. I mean, birds can see magnetic waves and other things like that. We're not fully aware of everything that's going on around us. Dr. Donald Hoffman thinks that space and time are not fundamental. So if that's the case, then there's some very strange things possible. So who knows, maybe the ghosts and things are just an extra dimensional thing, who knows, but out here it's an interesting thing to talk about and think about. Well, I just found this spot in the woods on the side of the Peddars Way around the Thompson Water area, and it's not exactly where I wanted to stay for the night, but I was so tired and actually it's worked out really well. I've got a hazel behind me, a hazel in front of me, and then I've got this huge beech tree which has these very low hanging branches, and I'm kind of encircled by these trees. It was a strange night. Early on in the night it was really noisy because this place is absolutely infested with squirrels. Like, they are everywhere and they're shaking every branch, and of course they're taking the hazelnuts off the hazel. And then they quiet down, and then the deer start. And the deer make a lot of noise. At some point in the night, this big animal, it must have been a big deer, like maybe a red deer, don't think so, maybe a big fallow, but it came through and just was like, it charged through the bushes to my tent and then charged away again. It was really strange. But yeah, other than one strange incident at the beginning of the night where there was somebody on the road there for a while when there's nowhere to park, it's a very strange thing. Maybe they were checking the fencing somewhere. Other than that, I felt really secure in this spot. I feel encapsulated by the trees, very well hidden. It's beautiful. There's a field on the other side that's sort of, I'm hidden from view from this field if I ever did go into it from these trees, but it's more of a meadow. This area is not generally somewhere where people would be unless they're fixing fences, I guess. So yeah, it was a good night, but keep on having to remind myself that I'm cozy and everyone's safe here, you know. So I'm just taking the tent down, and one of the great things about this tent is it's small. It's only got one pole that runs through the middle section, so you literally stick one pole in and then pull the ends out tight and peg them. And one of the good things is you have these bright red pegs, which means in this kind of dark, rich soil, it smells amazing, but in this kind of soil they don't go missing because they're bright red, and you can scrape the soil out of them, so they're pretty good. But yeah, just slowly taking the tent down. So just off the Peddars Way, which carries on down, is the Pingo trail, and there's a little hidden gem off of here from the Ice Age, and it's worth checking out. So we're going to go and have a look. This swamp here was formed about 11,000 years ago. Originally it was a lake and it's grown into what it is now. And there were people during this period, which was called the Holocene, who would have hunted this area. And there's all kinds of interesting stuff in here. And because it's never been drained or farmed, it's full of mystery. Amidst the lush greenery and the rich, fertile lands, ancient wanderers found a home. They were the silent witnesses to the dawn of time, their lives woven into the very fabric of the earth. As hunters and gatherers, they moved with the seasons, their existence a delicate dance with nature. They hunted great beasts lost to time, like the auroch and the giant Irish elk. They hunted using bows, utilizing arrows tipped with razor-sharp flints. These ancient people shared the landscape with monstrous creatures such as the cave lion. These massive predators are thought to be the largest ever cats to roam the earth. They could weigh up to 800 pounds, stand 5 feet tall, and reach 11 feet long. This is almost twice the size of a modern lion. Their claws would have been like razors, and their teeth like knives. This is a place where the ancient world still exists, a window into another time when nature is untamed. The Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mumraths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwocky, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the Tumtum tree, and stood a while in thought. So I've just come off the Peddars Way over there and we're at Thompson Water, and so all the surrounding landscape here was kind of created during the Ice Age, but right here this lake is actually man-made and they used to use it to test amphibious vehicles during the Second World War. But man-made or not, as you can see, it is an absolutely beautiful place. Thompson Water is home to many bird species, including swans, a variety of ducks, terns, cormorants, grebes, and kingfishers, among others. In May, the white flowers of the oxygenating plant water crowsfoot cover the surface, drawing in bees, butterflies, hoverflies, beetles, and other insects. In the springtime, the paths around the Pingos are lined with basking grass snakes, taking in the early sun after a long winter's sleep. By the time the autumn comes, the paths become lined with mushrooms such as the enigmatic fly agaric and multiple other species. At this time of year, hazel trees offer the bounty of hazelnuts as the air begins to cool. A multitude of spring-fed pools and meres dot the landscape. The most numerous of these are called Pingos, a remnant of late Ice Age cycles of cooling and warming. These pools are home to abundant wildlife, such as the reintroduced northern pool frog, crested newts, over 19 species of dragonflies, and plants like wild mint and water violet, with around 400 species of plant in the area. During my hike, I enjoyed my time taking in this magical place where the air was filled with gem-like damselflies and gentle lake breezes. But the reality of the trail and simple necessity was slowly beginning to bite. So I'm been walking maybe a couple of hours, hour and a half, 2 hours now. Just walking past the battle area here, but unfortunately I've run out of water. I've run out. Sorry, I'll try that again because I'm a bit dehydrated. I've run out of water, so I'm going to try and see if I can find a house towards Merton Village, and get my bottle refilled, because I'm starting to feel the effects a little bit, because I kind of really ran out yesterday. I just had a few dribbles like that this morning and some fruit, but it's a beautiful day. Well, I finally got some water, and you know, the interesting thing about this is, you know, how often are we in the world in which we live in now without water or even food in the West, or a lot of the countries in the world now? We take having water for granted. There's so much that we are ungrateful for. Not being grateful makes life a little bit unpleasant, not just for the person who's ungrateful, but for everybody else, because they build up this spite, you know. And not everybody, of course, it shows itself in different ways, but yeah, a lot of people are ungrateful, and they just need to be more grateful, because we're very lucky to have food and water and shelter. And the people that don't have that, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Backpack is starting to get extremely heavy. I think it's about 70 pounds. It's not as heavy as it could be, but it's pretty damn heavy. Yeah, it's like it's like some sort of punishment every time you put it back on your back after a rest. But it's good. It's hardship, you know. You need hardship in life to know what the good stuff is, I suppose. This is what this is all about. As a challenge, it's supposed to be a challenge. It's supposed to be something that gives you time to think and reconsider things. It's definitely doing that. But you know. So here we are in North Pickenham. The settlement was originally settled in 5th century AD by the Saxons, and it's named after a guy called Picker. So Picker and Ham being village, Pickenham. And there are some interesting things to see here. For example, Halton Hill is just nearby, and that place was abandoned. All the remains is the church. It has a real strange feel to it. So that's what we're going to do, and we're here with some friends of ours. They're going to say hi. Hi, friends.
The abandoned village of Halton Hill, with the footsteps of the past to echo through quiet lanes, fields and woods in this lonely drifting place. Old dreams of lives once lived in harmony with the land. There is a sense of presence here, as if those that should be long gone remain, watching, waiting. A sense of sadness perhaps, but also a sense of peace. Evidence of a nearby Roman temple suggests this has been a place of worship and habitation for thousands of years. Water springs from the foot of the hill and flows into the river valley, symbolizing renewal and rebirth. The church was bombed, abandoned, and thought lost. The last remaining traces of the people that dwelt here thought to be destroyed. But beyond hope, this place has been rescued. Its grounds turned into a beautiful garden by local man Bob Davy. This is now a place of sanctuary, surrounded by flowers and fields. The ancient church sits on a hill deep in the English countryside, waiting for a return of the faithful it once nurtured.
So, I slept in South Pickenham last night, and it's a really strange wood. There's a lot of dead material around, and everything just cracks and pops. It's all crackly, all popply all night. But I had a really hard day yesterday. I'm not used to carrying that weight. It's been a long time since I've carried anything over 50 pounds on my back, and this backpack has got a lot of stuff in it I probably don't need. But I think part of it is I knew I wanted to carry a heavy weight. I knew I wanted to challenge myself. This wasn't just an adventure, it was also supposed to be a pilgrimage, a challenge. So yeah, yesterday was quite hard by the time I got here. But last night I got under this tree, and I'll show you the canopy in a minute, but I got under this tree, and in the back of this wood, it rained. I got set up, and about an hour, 2 hours after I'd set up, I was laying down, had something to eat. Suddenly the rain just went whoom, and the sound of the rain through the trees was just incredible. It's a very tall wood, but then a very short sublayer. And this tree is so thick that it rained outside for about 20 minutes before I got it in here. It's kind of hard, you know. But yeah, it just made me feel so cozy and safe. Like it just dampened all the noise down and all those things. Yeah, it was a really good night. I slept all the way through. I was awake once in the night at about 3 o'clock, and that was it. Had a really great night's sleep. So yeah, so now I'm off to Castle Acre, and we'll see how we get on going there today. Everything aches. so I'm not used to this. So we'll see.
Sweet breath of life, Gentle wind of God, guide me softly as I walk on this earth. Fill my eyes with the wondrous beauty of life. Let them sparkle and shine with joyful glee. Let my wings take flight, and let happiness find a quiet place within me. Let me know life's most precious treasures, a child at play, sunshine upon my face, laughter, a kind word, a loving embrace, memories of a happy past, deep faith. Fill my cup with love and let happiness find a quiet place within me. Let me be peaceful and full of grace, a warm and soothing lotion. Save me from common discontent. Keep me on my path, loving bent, God sent, and let happiness find a quiet place within me.
So I've just taken my backpack off, and I tell you what, I feel like I'm going to float off into the air. So I've come all the way from, through South Pickenham and North Pickenham, and then, up these hills. Now they say there's no hills in Norfolk. I can assure you there are hills. They're gentle, but they go on forever. And when you've got a heavy backpack on, and it's straight, because it's like a Roman road, and all you can see is your doom heading up the hill. But I'm now at the beginning of Procession Way, which is this long Roman road behind me, and at the end of it is a McDonald's. I don't normally have McDonald's, but today I'm out of water again, I'm tired and I'm hungry, and I cannot wait to get to the end of this. So we'll see what happens. Wow. I think I'm about to get rained on.
Nestled below the ancient village of Castle Acre is the Nar Valley. Crystal clear rivers and streams crisscross the landscape, weaving their way through water meadows. The cool rivers give respite to sore feet, whilst the mellow sound of the water's merry journey calms the mind. Ancient people walked this place, gathered water for animals, and fished the trout swimming in the water. Their children played in the river and by the water's edge. From the river, people collected water for the castle and the nearby, now ruined, abbey.
Oh mate, there's so many lovely places to come and swim around here. You just get in there. I would set my tent up in there actually, on another day. Be right here next to the river, swim, it's really clear in the middle. Just through the trees over there is the priory, the abbey that was destroyed during the period of Henry VIII. It's a really beautiful spot. Oh, it's so nice.
The abbey, which was home to around 30 monks whilst in use, was dissolved under King Henry VIII during the Reformation. Now the bones of the once majestic abbey remain standing on the hillside, a reminder of a time long past.
So we've come out of the water meadows by the river, which I took a shortcut through, and heading up through Castle Acre now, and we're about to go through this archway, which was built probably around the 1100s period by the de Warenne family. And yeah, there would have been some sturdy gates on here, but now it's all just a pretty village. So here we are, this is the sign down to the castle and the Castle Mound, which is fascinating, really ancient place. And the Peddars Way travels on this road for a little while before going off the road again into the countryside. So we're just going to go and have a little look down here and see what's going on. So here we are at Castle Acre. It's first settled by William de Warenne in 1066 after the Norman invasion. And then over the next sort of 150 years, up to about 1200, they built the castle walls and then added like towers and all sorts of interesting things like that. And now it's just this beautiful place for a lot of people to come and visit. And as you walk around a lot of these paths in this area, the smell of wild mint and other herbs and plants is just incredible. It's just fresh and green and beautiful. Even on a day now that's become slightly cloudy, it's just a really great place to be. And it's so interesting because as you walk around and you place your hand on a stone here or there from the wall, that sense of age starts to really come out to you. And you know, you can almost hear the braying of the sheep and the bellowing of the cattle in the yard down here and the buzz of people as they went around their business. You know, the guards with the swords and the armor and all that interesting and cool stuff. You can almost get a sense of that history as you lay your hands upon the foundations of this really quite ancient castle now. There's a nice breeze. So this is colloquial name down here on the side that's growing here is called fireweed, which in Latin is Epilobium angustifolium. And it grows everywhere and it sort of flowers through into the August. And the seeds blow in the wind to distant places and resettle. So I've just, as I say, I've just stopped. Got that from Castle Acre. Castle Acre is a great midway point. So many of the pubs have closed along the way, so you need to stock up while you can, and this time I've got loads of water. Yeah, it was really needed. I wasn't going to have my last morning without real nice coffee or tea and things. So yeah, so I got some German salami, some rolls, Dr. Pepper, sugar, and I got this strange but very nice roasted aubergine pate. It was excellent, to be fair. It is excellent because you obviously don't want to bring butter because it will melt when it's warm like this. So having something that you can put on instead, and it's spicy and really good. So that's from the Budgeons in Castle Acre. So thanks to Rash for the suggestion of that. Guy who apparently goes out to Canada with family out there. Nice, really nice guy. Recommended this. So, and it's working a treat. It is working a treat. So I've got, I don't know if you can see, but I've got that long stretch. Hold on. Let me just adjust you there. So you can see I've got that long stretch all the way down, all the way to Amber now. So I'm going to finish my sandwich and hopefully I'll make it there before it really starts to rain. The road goes on forever. Well, it's been an incredible journey from Castle Acre up many hills that Norfolk apparently doesn't have. Up many hills that Norfolk apparently doesn't have. All the way up past Great Massingham, all the way up past Hartley. I thought I was going to do about 8.7 miles today, but actually I'm probably going to be doing about 12. The weather is coming in, and it's gone from a really nice sort of sunny day to a kind of overcast one. And I probably got about 2 hours before, maybe 2-3 hours before the heavens open up and I get absolutely soaked. That's fine. I've got rain gear and stuff, but it may end up being quite good because I'll get there just as it starts to rain, which means camping is going to be a lot more fun, let's say. I won't have to worry about people, walking up on me and going, "Oh, hello, are you setting a tent up?" Then none of that will happen, hopefully. So I'm now stopped having a snack on the side of the road. Not a bad spot to have a break in the field of, I don't know what this is. It's not cornflower, it's flax maybe. It's beautiful though. Just a huge blue field behind me, full of butterflies and bees. Yeah, today seems a little bit easier, even though I'm making more. I'm coping better with it for some reason. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good. So, but yeah, I'm off to Anmer for the moment. I'm going to go and have a look at the burial mounds over there, and we shall see what we'll see. We're just coming through Harpley Common at the moment, and we've got these barrows everywhere, and ancient Bronze Age they say, but some of these are, I think, much older than that, and other people think they're much older than that as well, from different times. But behind this particular barrow is this beautiful woodland. It's well managed. Inside you've got these big trees with, lots of space in between them. It's almost like a cathedral in there, so we'll go and have a quick look in there in a moment. But it's a really interesting open landscape into the distance, and it really does remind me of these passages from Lord of the Rings, about the Barrow Downs. And when you see some of these other ones, you'll know what I mean. It's quite an interesting landscape here. Yeah, so I'm just through here into Anmer, and there's quite a few burial mounds stretched out over this area here. It was rumored to be a site of an ancient battle a couple of thousand years ago or more, but they're not 100% sure when these mounds actually originated. So some people think it was 2,000 years ago odd when Boudica or Boadicea, however you want to say it, fought the Romans, and these tribes here were fighting the Romans, and these are the results of this battle that happened in this area, and some of the chiefs and the kings were buried here. Others believe that these mounds go way before then, and that actually these are the burial mounds of ancient kings and chiefs going way back. There's definitely an interesting feeling when you get here, and you have to remember that you are visiting the site of somebody's grave, and somebody who is obviously very important. And so I'd like to kind of acknowledge that fact mentally when I come to these sort of places. It's that span of time of millennia, and you start to think, what did this person's sacrifice really mean back then? They obviously were fighting for something they really believed in, and yet here they are, and what purpose did they really fulfill? Well, I don't know. Then you start to think about things in terms of what is their knock-on effect, their trials and tribulations. Do they actually echo through eternity? And actually, I do believe that is the case. Something that they did here had a knock-on effect that means the world is the way it is today. Their sacrifice was not worthless. It had an effect. It meant something. And I think all our lives are worthwhile, even if there are times in our lives when perhaps we think they're not worthwhile. But everything that we do, everywhere you go, the job that you do, even if it's not the rocket scientist job or what have you, everything that we do is important. And so I like to think about the span of history when I come to somewhere like this. And it's interesting because I think somebody else has had the same thought, because somebody's actually laid flowers on this mound fairly recently to, I guess, honor whoever was buried here, or to remember them, to remember our own history maybe, and our deep connection with our ancient past. It's absolutely fascinating, and it's definitely quite moving when you see that somebody's done that. It's not the first time I've seen it at a place like this as well. So there are people out there with a very different way of thinking to most of us in the modern world, and I really like that idea. It's very calming and peaceful here. This is this beautiful woodland I was talking about. It's so airy, and like when you're here you can see back deep into the woods. They're like smooth pillars of stone, but they're trees. And it just goes on. It's like something, I don't know, out of a movie or something. It's really cool. You can see some of these trees are absolutely massive. You've got this here, and I think this is a chestnut, but it's huge. Oh, I feel like I could sleep here. But yeah, it's an amazing woodland. To say, really well managed. Lots of nice diversity of tree species and things. Peddars Way. Peddars Way this way. So here we have the hawthorn berry, and they're a great source of food for birds in the wintertime, which is why if you have these in a hedgerow, you shouldn't cut your hedges until the birds are finished with the berries in the wintertime. They're also a great source of food for people. If you process them correctly, you can get some nutrients and vitamins out of these, in the same way you can with acorns if you process them and get the tannins out. So they're one to look out for. So this is Harpley Common here, and it's the north bit of Harpley Common. It's full of shrubs and grassland, so you've got the hawthorn, you've got very young oaks and other trees in amongst this grass, and it's a really interesting habitat. They are letting it wild itself naturally, so they're not taking out shrubs and things to keep the common open. They're allowing it to close up. There's bramble patches developing and so on. Eventually what you'll get is bigger trees come in and crowd out all the bramble and the things growing underneath, and it'll become a woodland again. So it's like the edge of a woodland or a new woodland starting. But it's a great place if you're caught short to stick a tent up. You just have to watch out and find a place that doesn't have very young bramble shoots coming out of the ground. Well, I made it to Anmer. I'm here on this, I guess it's Anmer Common, or is it the top of Harpley Heath? I'm not sure which one it is. But it's got a big area. It's full of short oaks, hawthorn, and a lot of bramble. I mean, when you look in, you can see the grass, but you can't see the bramble. So it was actually more tricky to find a spot that wasn't going to put a hole through the bottom of my tent than you'd think. I basically set up in the rain last night, and a lot of stuff got wet. I was wearing these quite comfortable but unattractive shoes, and they're totally soaked through. My hiking boots that I've got actually give me blisters, and the shoes that are just cheap don't. So there you go. But this works really well when you stand back and look. You can't see it, even though there's a lot of brown grass here. The short, dark oaks, this just fits in with them perfectly. So you've got, colours like this for the grass, and I'm learning as I go. It's just reminding myself of some of the skills and some of the fun bits. Next time I'll bring different things to what I brought this time. So I'm going to make myself a coffee anyway. I got another 12 miles to do today with this backpack. It's become a real pilgrimage, as I thought it might. It's been a real test, actually. When you haven't done anything like that for a long time and you suddenly put this weight on and you're going up some of these hills. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's great though, because it's all about this, But yeah, I'll give you a little view of the land. I'll pack away and move on to the coast, and hopefully today even though it's a bit cloudy and overcast, hopefully today I'll get a swim in the North Sea. So that would be nice. So I've just come out of a green hill. No, it's not that bad. There's a green tunnel of just ferns and bracken all the way from Anmer to this point where it finally opens up, and I'm baking. It's just really humid, and everything's wet, and my feet are all wet already. But yeah, last night was not too bad. Although something I forgot to mention in earlier on was that is probably the worst ground I've slept on so far. All the rest of the trip has been under the forest canopy. It's all the leaf mulch and the smell of mycelium working its way through the leaves on the forest floor and the dead branches and things, and it's really nice. But last night out on that common there, that ground was hard and lumpy. Yeah, it's interesting, this trip has made me think a bit about carrying burdens. The fact that, the first couple of days I didn't carry enough food or water, and because I wanted to make things easy for myself in terms of load, right? Well, of course I didn't have enough food and water, so I had 2 days of big calorie deficits and kind of feeling dehydrated. So when I got to Castle Acre, I really got a lot of stuff. I got loads of water more than anything else, and some food. And of course my backpack is a lot heavier. It made some of those hills on the way up, because there are quite a few reasonably steep hills coming from Castle Acre up through past Massingham and so on. Great Massingham. So obviously I noticed the burden. So the thing is, it's a pretty good analogy for life, because the more of a burden you take on in life, the more you sacrifice, the more hours you spend at your job or whatever it might be that you're doing to earn money, for example. The more burden you take on, the more safety you have, the more water, the more food, the more whatever it might be. But you have to sacrifice enough, and you have to carry enough of a burden to make it worthwhile. I should be okay, I think, towards the coast today for the water I've got left. But carry your burden and understand that it requires sacrifice. People carry their burdens in life, and they lose their marriages and their children and all the other things that matter to them, because they sacrifice their time and parts of their soul almost to achieve things. And there are people out there who will simply take. They'll take from you. They don't care. They don't have any concept of what it means to carry a burden. So they'll borrow money and they'll go, oh, I'm not going to pay them back, whatever. Yeah. But it's very selfish, some people. And I think what's amazing about doing these trails is that there's so many things about hardship when you really put the backpack on, when you put that weight on, when you walk hard and you carry your home on your back, so to speak. there's a lot of things that run through your head about what you're doing and about the beauty of carrying a burden, for example, or, you know, a reminder of hardship, a reminder of how blessed we are really to be able to go to the tap and get a glass of water, all these things. Yeah, this is an experience that everybody should have if they're physically capable of it. I'm not sure I am physically capable, but I am doing it anyway. I've got some severe blisters on my feet. I haven't done this kind of thing for a long time. Got some severe blisters, everything hurts. I'm limping on one leg because my muscle's tight as anything. So yeah, it's an experience. But the other thing is, just thought I'm getting these, what are they? Keto and fasting. They're basically electrolytes. Because as long as you can get enough water, if you can't get enough food, if you can get your electrolytes in, that's the main thing. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. But anyway, I'm off up the road now after a little bit of philosophizing. And I'll see how we get on. Oh. Well, I've just come from the other side of the valley. I just did a sweep with the camera. You can't tell, but that is a huge hill. So you're basically going from Fring to Ringstead at this point. And yeah, it's a hell of a hill. But you see, what I've done to try and help me is, first of all, don't stop. If you get a big hill like that, do not stop, because you lose momentum. That's my personal opinion on it. Secondly, sing a song. There's a field potatoes on one side, and I think there's flax on the other side of the hedge there, I'm not sure. So I sung a strange song about potatoes. I won't sing it for you now, but maybe it'll be in like an edition. I'll make a recording of it. But it was something along the lines of potato power. Yeah. Anyway, I have no map at the moment. No, my phone is dead, which I was using for a map. And what that means is that I don't really know how far I've got to go. I can't remember how far it is from Fring to Ringstead. I then don't know how far it is from Ringstead to Home Hill. So I'm just ploughing on, and I have to say, this is a really beautiful part of the countryside here. Some of the hills and hedgerows and the views, because it is a lot more hilly here. They're sharper hills, so I actually prefer these. They're shorter and they're quite steep for Norfolk. Whereas the ones early on in the walk, in the hike, they just were on forever, just at an angle, just up and up. And so yeah, I'm not so keen on those, but these valleys here are just absolutely beautiful. Little farms tucked in the woodlands, in the valleys and things. Yeah, it's really, really nice. So I'm starting to get my spirits up again. I've shaken off the morning doldrums, and it was just damp and wet and grey and horrible this morning, and really humid. It's still humid, but the sun's out now. And so yeah, it's a bit more of a pleasant situation. But as you can see, I'm absolutely drenched from that hill. Anyway, I better crack on, I suppose. So one of the things, I'm just on this section here still, I'm about to head off to Ringstead. One of the things I started to do was collect rubbish on the way. So I had a bag with my own rubbish in, and I thought, like this bench I was just sitting on, there's just paper and stuff. Somebody sat there blowing their nose and left tissues and stuff like that, and just one that's not even used, just laying there in the grass. So I thought, I'll collect as I go. Might as well. Oh god, here we go. So here we are, hole next to sea. You come out of the Peddars Way there, and you cross straight down the road, and down on the right there is the pub, which is a very nice place to be. So this is the route the Romans used to take, and there used to be a port up here when the water was deeper. And so they were able to ship goods out of this port, which is now quite shallow. But yeah, it's a nice place with a bench to sit down, so that's what I'm going to do. So it's been tough, but it's been an absolute liberation for the mind. It's made me look at the world a bit differently. The hardship that I put myself through, I haven't done that to myself for quite a long time. I've met some interesting people, seen things that even I was not aware of, and I thought I knew this trail from visiting various places. And I've had a great time, but it takes a big toll on the body. I guess the more you do it, the better it'll get. You'll get tough. But it's been amazing so far. I've just got to get to the pub, get to the beach, and think about doing the coastal trail next. Those last couple of miles are a killer. I can't believe I made it. There seemed a point where I was like, oh my god, how am I going to do this? That pack was so heavy. But here I am, done it. Enjoying a pint. The Holm Dunes National Reserve. So here we have these orange berries, and as you walk through these bushes, which is the coast on the other side, they're very spiny. The smell is like fruit, it's like papaya, I can't explain it. I see these berries and I just want to eat them. I actually don't know what these are. I haven't looked them up. So if somebody wants to tell me what they are, that'd be great. They're spiny, they're on the beach, and these yellow berries smell like tropical fruit. And as you walk through this, it smells like you're going through the jungle where they grow, or the Tesco's fruit and veg aisle. But anyway, here we are, the last bit, so yeah. So this is really nice as you come to the beach here. After you've been walking all that way, 76 kilometers or whatever it is, and you come and you're faced with this beautiful open scenery, and you can see in the background there, you've got the lighthouse and in Hunstanton and all these dunes on this national reserve. So after that long and arduous but very enjoyable hike, it's pretty good actually. After that, my next mission is to do the coastal path, which will start from here. I'll camp somewhere, and then I'll carry on down the coastal path to Sheringham and to beyond where the path stops. And I think that's going to be a pretty interesting adventure. More chance of getting a pub and a shop along the way, so it'll be a little bit easier. And of course, at the right time of year, a swim. And of course the right time of year is winter, because of course that's when you swim in the North Sea. So it's the most refreshing. Wow.
Thank you for watching. If you like what you've seen today, please like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it.